Hello, everyone. My name is Garrett Seville. I'm a recent college graduate from the University of California, Riverside. I'm here with Dennis. Um, First question I'd like to ask you is, could you provide a brief summary of your current role and primary responsibilities?
You bet. So I'm the vice president of live services for 2K Games. If you think about video games today, we liken them to an amusement park where we want people to come to the park. We want them to have a great time. There's often lots of different modes to play, ways to engage. And ultimately, we want people to come back, over time as much as possible. And then every time we open up a new park, come to that as well. So when you think about sports games at 2K, from NBA 2K to PGA 2K to WWE 2K, our team's job is responsible for understanding who's playing those games. How are they playing the games? Where are they finding the most enjoyment? Where are they running into trouble? We work with the marketing teams to understand how we can better communicate the strengths of games to potential customers. And we also work with the development studios to help make the games better over time, whether that's a game like Borderlands that, is an always on game that, you're going to launch a new game every few years, or more like our sports games where a new one launches every year or every other year. That's an opportunity for us to really understand and get better every single year as we look at the behavior and try and understand, what we can do to further surprise and delight our customers.
Awesome. And then once again, what was the exact title you have?
The vice president of live services.
Gotcha.
And so live services might be called live operations or live ops. It has a slightly different name in different companies throughout the industry, but it generally speaks to the whole range of activities and services provided to customers after they start playing a game.
Okay, so a lot of it's looking into demographics and how people are going to play these games and what they're going to want for the next game.
Absolutely. If you think about things like new content that comes into a game, or limited time events, or a new mode that comes into a game, Fortnite is a great example of live services where they're constantly coming up with new crossovers that will reach new audiences or bring back people who were in the game previously and had lapsed out or churned. And it can reactivate those audiences of customers. And so live services are all about sustaining that engagement and retention over time. And then, like I said, bringing back customers who may have left the game for one reason or another.
Gotcha. And then also new updated rosters for the sports games, those always bring new people back because they want to see the new rookies and all those.
Yeah, I wouldn't call those live services as much. That's more of a feature of game, right? And when a game launches every year, if you think about NBA 2K, every year, NBA 2K launches with a whole host of new features and new ways to engage with the game. Roster updates are definitely part of that, and that's a core feature of the game. Live services might be, having new cards come into the game in a My Team mode, and then having a limited time event where you have to use certain cards in your lineup to compete against other players for a special reward.
Like the My Park event, kind of like that?
Yeah. My Park is a feature. The Court Conqueror event is a My Park event, right? It's a limited time event that you can earn special rewards and play the game a slightly different way. And then when it's over, and you have to wait for the next one.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, next thing I wanted to ask was, what key lessons have you learned from working in sports?
That's a great question. The first one is have fun. Sports is all about fun. And when you're working in sports, sometimes like any job, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that we get to work in sports and around sports and do things that, make people's lives better in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, it's sports. We're not curing cancer here. So I think the big thing is, have fun and make sure that we understand that our job is to help our customers have fun. The second thing is, never take it for granted. I think sports, there are a lot of great roles in sports, but they can be really hard to get. And so, for people who are working in sports, when you have a role, put forth 1,000% effort. Make sure that you're always going above and beyond. I always tell people, the way to advance is to think about everything that your job is, and then figure out what are you going to do on top of that makes a difference. And that if you don't do those things, nobody else will. And I think, if you're not willing to do that in sports, like I said, it's a competitive space. Somebody else is. So once you get a foot in the door, don't let go.
Gotcha. So persistence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always finding new ways to add impact and influence. I think that's a big thing that I talk about with my team, that I talk about with our interns. Certainly it's important to do big, fun things, but just every time you're partitioning your time throughout a week, or you're looking at different projects, it's all about how are you going to have the most impact and influence. And I think, sports is an area that moves fast, whether it's golf or basketball or wrestling or what have you. The sports space moves fast. And I see that both within the video game side of sports, but then also within the leagues and the partners that we work with throughout the sports sphere.
Gotcha. One of the other questions I was going to ask is when the one lesson you mentioned was having fun, like what happens when the job starts to become less fun? Like, is it just like pick up and find something that you enjoy? I know that's
a great question. I think one, it's kind of like playing a game for the first time. You have to find the fun. I think any job is going to come with baggage. It doesn't matter what it is. Like Elon Musk's job comes with baggage. I think a lot of people look at that and think, wow, how incredible. But even that job has its downside. So, I believe that, your enjoyment and happiness is largely something that's within each of our control. And so, if you're choosing to kind of find the fun and find the happiness, and I think Ernie Johnson from Inside the NBA on TNT did a speech on this with the Alabama football team recently, where he talked about he has a get-to job, not a got-to job. He gets to go to work every day. He doesn't have to go to work every day. And I think that that's a really important mindset when you're working in sports. And if you have that mindset, if you, even if you have to write it down on your desk for those days that are a little tougher than others, that's a great North Star to kind of keep you in the fun. Because I think if you've really lost sight of the fun in your job, then it's probably time to reevaluate.
Yeah. And then of all those fun experience, like what are your like 1 to 2 highlights that have like been the most fun in your sports career? I know it's hard to narrow down, but
the first one that comes to mind is actually a really easy one for me. When I spent, the better part of 9 months as a legal affairs intern at Adidas in their North American legal department in Portland, Oregon. And Adidas and Nike are right next to each other, and they're constantly competing for athletes, or they're competing for entertainers. And at the time that I was there, Snoop Dogg had a relationship with Adidas and was coming to town with this whole entourage of people to choose a couple of different originals pieces that were going to go into his collection. And there was a whole lot of preparation that went into, welcoming I think there were 13 or 14 people in his traveling party. And it was fascinating to see how he thinks as an entertainer about aligning his brand with different pieces of apparel and with the marketing messaging, very much seeing the business side of Snoop Dogg and his whole team, and how thoughtful they are about the different initiatives that they are supporting and that they're investing their time and energy in. But also the fun side, in the middle of the day, there was a break and Snoop decided that he wanted to play pickup basketball. So we went to the Adidas gym and played 5-on-5 basketball. And at one point I was guarding somebody and Snoop came around a pick and dunked on me. And I was amazed that he could get up and dunk on me. I mean, this is years ago, but even then I didn't expect him to have those kind of hops. But just being able to have that kind of day, and like those are the experiences that you can have in sports that I can't think of too many other industries where you'd have those. I think another one just for me is getting through the pandemic, and being, when you think about last year for us, NBA 2K is, our number one title. There's no question about it. And we are so proud of everything that NBA 2K is. And what it offers to our community as, a way to engage, as a way to escape. And when the pandemic hit and the NBA season stopped, we had a huge opportunity, a moment in time, to work with our partners at the NBA to arrange things like the players tournament that was broadcast on ESPN and getting ESPN on board with that, but also doing things like coming up with new midweek events, knowing that people were home and they didn't have a lot to do. And so, kind of changing our playbook to make sure that we were giving our customers and our community the best possible experience that we could. And I think, that was a really hard time for everybody, not just in the United States, but around the whole world. And video games were one of those outlets that I think allowed people to find some normalcy, or just, like I said, escape from, the doldrums of going through a pandemic and sheltering at home and not being able to, hug your friends and family and see them in person. But at least for a lot of us, to be able to connect in a game, whether you're playing together and accomplishing something together and kind of digitally high-fiving each other, or whether you're competing and doing what you would have done on the real blacktop in game, I think video games were a huge benefit to a lot of people through this pandemic. And for me, there's just a lot of pride that, our company, our team was able to have an impact there.
Yeah, I mean, video games were huge for myself and all of my friends during COVID. So yeah, definitely. Thank you from all of us. Since this is a college-oriented interview, what kind of advice would you give for current or just recent graduates pursuing a sports career?
That's a great question. So I've actually done talks on this many times over the last decade or so that I've been in gaming, from elementary school kids to middle school to high school to college. The first thing that I want to communicate is whether you're looking in sports or whether you're looking in video games or at the intersection of sports video games, as it were, there are so many roles out there for you. Oftentimes, I think a lot of people think, well, I'm either going to develop a game or I'm going to be an influencer, and there's not a lot of in between. There are so many roles out there that, if you're a finance person, there's so many roles in finance as we think about new IP, new studios to invest in, how we manage our budgets and how we drive profit and upside for our shareholders and things like that. From the big companies like Activision and Ubisoft to small independent developers and everything in between. There are tons of roles if you're in finance, if you're in accounting, if you're interested in marketing, whether that's brand marketing, like big above the line brand marketing, or whether you're, very interested in performance marketing and paid digital media, or whether you're a social media marketer, and that's where your skills lie. Or if you're in production, if you're really interested in how a game comes to life and building games and bringing them to life, and you're an excellent project manager who can understand technical details and help teams come to deliver against common goals on a tight timeline. Those roles exist. If you're interested in sales, those roles exist. And then there are roles that people haven't even heard of or thought of, like in live services, like the things that my team does to help better understand who's playing our games and how we can make their experiences better. So that's the big thing is, I would encourage everybody, if you're interested in sports or if you're interested in video games or any entertainment industry like that, start going on job boards. Look at all these different companies that are in the industry and just start looking at the large number and diversity of roles that are out there, and then start plotting a path to getting there. If you're in college today, really think about internships. Internships are key. They give you a great opportunity to, one, build skills and develop relationships, but also kind of show your mettle and show your grit. And I think that's the biggest thing that anybody can show in an internship is that they've got grit and that they understand the so what, that, how are we going to actually move the needle and end up in a better place than we're in today. So I think those are really the big things for me, and just be passionate and dedicated. You're going to get, for every 10 asks, you're going to get 8 to 9 no's, and that's okay. Yeah. All you need is one yes. And especially in sports and video games, in that entertainment space, you will find somebody who resonates with you. And when you find people who do, when you find people who are willing to be a mentor, one, take advantage of that, stay in contact with those people, go to them when you need help making big decisions. But then also pass it forward. Make sure that you are mentoring others that are coming behind you, and that you're giving that olive branch out as much as it's been given to you, because that's how the industry gets better. That's how, we all as kind of humans get better, is by helping each other. And so I think those would be my long story long kind of bits of feedback to somebody who's in college or graduating and looking to get into this space.
Plenty of good information, no matter how long it was. I mean, long or short, time doesn't matter. It was a lot of good nuggets of information that I like. One of the last things I wanted to ask you is, do you have any kind of personal goals for the next year, 5 years, 10 years, personal or professional mainly, sorry?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a goals person, so I write my goals down, and I definitely have goals for, what I want to accomplish as a team. My goals are really my team's goals right now. I have personal goals just in terms of, different endeavors and social causes that I want to support and help, see succeed. I think, for the most part, that's where I kind of set my goals. From a leisure standpoint, I try and make sure that there's a good work-life balance. I'm somebody who's very into, skiing and golf and mountain biking. And I think that that's really important, just to, even if it's not a hard goal of like, I'm going to play 3 rounds of golf this week, but I'm going to get out and do something this week. I think that's really important because, I talked about the importance of working hard and the importance of kind of going above and beyond. It's also really important that you take care of yourself and that you are really kind of fueling your mind and your body as much as you are your work outcomes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. This kind of concludes our interview. I just want to say thank you again for the opportunity. And yeah, getting to know you was a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good luck, everyone.